Relax, Albert.
Hello, and welcome to episode 79 of FPL Apprentice. We are rapidly approaching the end of the season. We're going to be talking about what our ambitions are for kind of like the end of the year. We're going to be talking about 2-week punts. We're going to be potentially talking about rolling the dices if we want to kind of like, get those top 100k finishes. Firstly, Dave, how are you?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I don't know whether it was just mine, but as we set up there, the theme tune didn't play for about 8 seconds. Was it okay your side?
It was good my side,
Especially
but
with
I
all.
could hear you mumbling, which I guess was you asking me
Oh,
a question. So that'd be
oh
a
yeah.
nice little Easter egg. If
Exactly that. Easter egg. Yeah. Remember this episode 79 when we're 200,000 viewers, subscribers. But all right, mate. All right. I don't know whether excited for the last 2 game weeks is the right thing, but um, with my assistant manager chip ready and raring and currently active, I'm quite happy to see what it brings because I should have a chip over most players in the game. So yeah, should hopefully see some green arrows going into the last 2 game weeks. How about yourself?
yeah, all right. We'll go. Like we're going to talk about game week 36 reviews and game week 37 kind of plans. Game week 36 was a frustrating kind of one. Kind of like a red arrow first for quite a while, and due to some kind of big cock ups and mistakes myself. Right, so we'll go through them shortly. So there's a risk that I'm kind of running out of steam, which is and maybe I wanted the season to kind of finish, game week 35 maybe. But I've got a few plans. I've got some ideas which I think could shift the tide a little bit. But yeah, I think there's a
Oh,
risk
nice.
of me losing a little bit of momentum, but I'm still enjoying it, mate. But should we
Good.
crack on to the
Jump on
agenda?
in. Jump on in, mate. Jump on in. There is the agenda. I have missed off the 2 game week punt. But other than that, it's
So
all
yeah,
there.
so we'll do our reviews. We'll start with me. I've got a few kind of like moans. I think Dave yourself, you'll have few pieces you want to be
Moans.
booking. You did have a the assistant manager chip active, which is super exciting. But uh, we'll go into the details. I think kind of unfortunate, and yeah, kind of when you kind of on your moves, etc. I think there might be some hindsight kind of regrets there. We'll talk about I guess the kind of macro stuff and hey, what teams, what players we're interested in for the final 2 game weeks, particularly punts, which is quite interesting. We're looking at like the low ownership players. Game week 37, I think we've both got some, I think, relatively interesting plans. I think we've got a whole suite of options that are equally as good. Um, but yeah, kind of have like could have quite significant differences in outcomes, which is quite fun,
Mhm.
right? Matt versus Dave will do it. Maybe it'll be
We
a
have
bit more
to.
be a bit of surface level. And as we near the end of the kind of season, we will be looking at our mini league update, and there's some amazing managers there and some kind of amazing
Yeah.
scores super tight at the top. So let's crack on, mate. Let's
Yeah.
go into
Let's go with
the
it.
game week that was. So game week
And this
36.
is
So so I'll kind of start. So yeah, I ended up with 50 points with a 3 million game week rank. That meant that I had quite a large red arrow down from 93k to 105k. So I'm out of that kind of like that nice boundary that we want to be like top 100k. I'm pretty annoyed. I'm pretty annoyed in terms of my play and kind of what I did. I didn't do any transfers. I came in with one free transfer. I didn't make any moves. Um, but kind of why I'm so frustrated was just I missed the deadline. Right, I missed the deadline because I was doing live stuff and like time. I think my phone wasn't with me and it was just going. It was charged. I was making the most of nice Welsh weather. I was like in my garden, my flat roof, just like doing
pub.
garden, doing gardening. I was like, wow, okay, it's I've missed the deadline, and I think this might become a blessing because I think obviously there's Man City news around the likes of Marmoush being benched and kind of whatnot. I think that was the big pre-deadline move. I would have probably moved Marmoush out for Vizza or Evan Nilsson. They both did nothing, right? So maybe that's a blessing in disguise, right? However, it wasn't that leak that I'm frustrated about. It's more this team setup, right? So I think we described this like kind of last episode, is that we viewed both Man United and Spurs as teams to target if they were going to progress in Europe, and they did, right? So I think it wasn't rocket science to predict they'd be heavily rotated and quite easy targets, right? So I had Raya starting as my goalkeeper. I really wanted Areola. Once I kind of saw that Man United can progress, I wanted to play Areola. What was that? That was a net difference of 6 points. Not a huge difference, but these things matter at this time of the year. Like, it's kind of hard to kind of claw back that. So that was a cock up. And then the other one was Munoz instead of Concert, right? So again, Munoz, he could have had more, right? We kind of spoke about him individually last week, that he's been playing as a winger, near enough striker, has been like quite unfortunate in terms of his attacking returns. He got his assist in the clean sheet. He could have got more assists, right? He was kind of really, really good. I wanted to play him instead of Conso once I saw, again, Spurs progressing, right? I just forgot to make those moves, right? So that's on me. That's a stupid cock up. Conso luckily got a clean sheet, so it's 5 points versus 11, but that's a 6 point difference again. So net, just for me being lazy and forgetting deadline, I've lost a net 12 points there, which it sounds small, but I think if I 12 point I'd be near enough 80k now, and I'm to claw that back. So I'm super frustrated by that. So that's annoying. I mean, sometimes we say about we're annoyed because of what ifs and stuff you couldn't predict. Just setting your team up right and plans you had all week to do so. Like that's just like that was just poor play, right? So not ideal. But then go for the rest of my team. Raya, defense really good. Livramento, Guardiol, and Conser. Of course, it'd be nicer if I would have played Munoz over Conser. And I would have benched Conser out of those guys because he was away to Bournemouth, a relatively tough team, right? So I played the guys kind of like at home. Bumo, captain, again, he chipped in with an assist from a corner, I think. So did decent job there. Sarr got a return, right? Got an assist, but I think he was again, I think, unlucky not to get more. But I think he did have a kind of like disallowed goal.
Oh, didn't he? Yeah, offside.
Just like very, very fine margins, but he was very good generally, right? Salah is falling off a cliff, right? Rogers did okay. Mateta got subbed pre 60 minutes again. Isak, Mamouche, whatever. Not kind of great, but I'm kind of kicking myself because of the kind of mistakes I kind of made. More generally, at like an aggregate level, while not having Eze, and like I think you and I are both a big fan of Eze. We've spoken about him a lot this year and previous and last year as well, around like some on penalties, set pieces, great underlying stats when he plays, right, when he has a fit run. Yeah, it's mad that neither of us actually had him from game week 30
for a while
onwards, and like he's been somewhat fortunate, but he's been smashing out and he's been killing. For my team, he's been killing. Going Mateta over Eze for a second Palace attacker, it's been killing me. He's like turning it up every week. He's getting kind of more pens and kind of whatnot. He's doing excellent, and like I'm kicking myself not picking him. We'll do a proper debriefer, mate, if you're up for it. Post
absolutely.
Like the themes and the trends, the ebbs and flows, what we would have done differently. But like, hindsight. But going Mateta, who was coming back from that like horrible injury, versus Eze, a penalty taker who's just like got that pedigree, is so stupid. So stupid. Like, I can't. I'm just like kicking myself, and like we're getting punished. Like, I think disproportionately so. Right, that gap between Sarr and Eze is kind of quite massive now in points, but I think underlying it's not so. But he's doing excellent. So I think these are frustrating, but I think a way to think it positively, future seasons and whatnot, you can one player differences can be huge differences in rank, right? Yeah, if I started this week the players I was meant to start, which I was. That's not me just saying, hey, I wanted to play my best benched kind of players, like I actually did. Plus, I've had Eze for the last couple of weeks rather than Mateta. I'd be looking at like 30k rank, right? That's not that in quite a poor season. So like, hey, it's kind of like positive these small margins. But that's my week, mate. So I think understandably frustrated just because the points I benched when there was definitely intent to play those players. But more widely, it's just like Eze, that guy is kind of like killing me.
Killing it.
Hopefully now,
16 points this week.
yeah, no, it's kind of well deserved. He's kind of playing well, man, and kind of whatnot, and he's of course, like a great pick, right? That's not like a it's not like an obscure pick, right? He's kind of a solid FPL player for kind of years now. So he's doing kind of really well, but kind of kind of really killing me rank wise. But that's my week, mate. So I think I was texting you Sunday. Hey, that
Yeah.
was like pretty much irritating game week of the season just because of like my own stupidity there. But
I,
it was okay
I,
setup. It could have been worse.
yeah, that's it. It's only it's not a massive red, at least.
Captaincy return is good, right? In a low scoring week,
Yeah,
right? Salah,
yeah,
Isak, other options blanked, right? So when Boomer chipping away without doing too much in a game, getting a return is decent,
it's a win.
I suppose, right? So it's
Yeah, absolutely.
and who knows? I got 2 free transfers now going in, right? I would have definitely, if I was like logging on when I was meant to, I would have seen the leak notes. I would have brought in Visa, probably, or Evan
Yeah,
Nilsson. They didn't do anything in terms of points, right? I think Viz's got 1 point, right? Evan Nilsson 2.
yeah,
Um, having these 2 free transfers may be a blessing now. Like, I might be able to do some
absolutely.
interesting stuff. So we shall see, right, for the next 2 weeks. But let's have a look at yours. I think
Well, similar, but different reasons. I had to do my team too early, mate. So I didn't get the leak of Marmoush not starting either because I was driving down the motorway to a spa day and to visit Beamish. If anybody's not been to Beamish, well worth the trip if you're in the UK and in the northeast. So I had to set my team
where
up
are
for
your
that at 10
priorities,
a.m.
though?
mate.
Where are your priorities? Having a social life, going to a spa when
My
there's a deadline. Hey,
my priorities are my wife's happiness. That's where my priorities were lying at the weekend. So
that's,
yeah, I had to set my team for like
that's a
10.
tactical coffee break in it in a motorway services next time.
Should have been. Should have been. I should have worked it that out. But yeah, so I ended up having to do them early because I was like, well, I'm not going to get any chance otherwise. So
Yeah.
I ended up doing two transfers. I had to take out a City player because I wanted to bring in start the assistant manager. I wanted to bring in Pep, which I did. If I'd have obviously seen the news that Marmoush was getting benched, he'd have been one that would have ended up being taken out, not Diaz. Um, and that hurt because Diaz went for Williams. Diaz got 9 points. Williams got one, so an 8 point
Yeah.
difference there. Marmoush obviously only got 1 point, and he would have ended up being. That's where I need to work it out, right? Uh, but it might have been Evan Nielsen as well, so he's actually outscored him. So I'm a little bit, a few points down on that. What I ended up doing was Mateta to Wissa. They both got 1 point, so no difference. And then Diaz to Williams, so 8 points down. Did allow me to get Pep in, so I got 5 of those points back. Otherwise, I'd have probably got Pereira as my manager because I thought Wolves would quite comfortably beat Brighton. That didn't happen. Pereira got 0 points. So net, I'm 3 points down. But yeah, if I'd have got that news, mate, Marmoush was getting benched, it would have been him instead of Diaz. So I'd have made um,
Similar story then. Very
just
different but similar, right? Is that hey, kind of we were just like distracted in around deadline and like
actual deadline. See?
in
Half one on a Saturday is not a good time for a deadline.
yeah.
Just in the middle of
No,
stuff.
true. If you're doing something right, it does get in the way for sure.
Yeah.
They're like 11 a.m. one's a lot more generous.
A little bit better. A
Um,
little bit better. Yeah.
how do you feel about Pep? Because that must feel like a bit of a disaster, right? 5 points is five
Oh,
points, right?
mate,
Simple, like I
mate.
mean, who could predict that?
27 shots or something crazy City had in that game. The expected
Yeah,
goal data was incredible. Southampton cleared one off the line.
yeah,
Marmoush hit the bar when he came off the bench.
yeah.
Mate, I can't believe it. It could have been worse. They could have Southampton could have nicked it, right? I suppose so. It could have been 0 points. I'll take 5, but I was expecting minimum 9 from that.
Yeah, I'd say
And when I
mine
saw the
would be that.
stats, yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I feel a bit hard done by with that one based on the way that the game went and how dominant City were in it. But makes it interesting for the Premier League. Who's going to finish in that race for the top 5? It brings City back into the mix and contention for
Yeah,
falling out of it. But in the FPL world, yeah, pretty disastrous. And what makes it even worse, mate, it being 0-0, was the fact that I had to sell Diaz, not Marmoush, because of my timings. Another clean sheet
mhm.
gone.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
that's a kind of tough one. I think reassuring. Like, I saw some good managers play the system manager, and they all selected Guardiola. So I think it was the obvious one. But
I
you win
yeah,
some, you lose
not
some. You
bad.
did get a random Dan Burn assist.
Now that was a beauty. That was a beauty assist. So yeah, rest of my team, Guardiola clean sheet, very similar to yours in that sense. Guardiola clean sheet. I had Rodgers who got me an assist,
Yeah,
and Boomer was captain. My bench looks fairly healthy. I had Henderson, but I was always going to play Raya. I didn't fancy Crystal Palace to keep a clean sheet away at Tottenham. Just didn't. Tottenham score goals. You pointed out before about their goal difference being the best in the bottom half. And then it was a toss up between Rodgers and Sarr. I was only ever going to play one of them.
yeah.
Luckily for me, they both got the same amount of points, so that didn't really matter. And then it was a toss up. Do I play Dan Burner home to Chelsea, or do I play a concert away at Bournemouth? And I just went for Burn, number one, home. So fancied him at home compared to Villa away. And Newcastle historically have had one of the best defences in the league with Howe. So I just thought maybe he'll get a clean sheet against Chelsea. Not only did he get a
That's
clean
kind
sheet,
of
yeah, not only did he get a clean sheet, he passed the ball to Bruno Gomes, who took a shot from a distance that took a deflection and went in, and he got the I think the assist. +2 bonus. He was absolutely my star of the week. And after that Newcastle Chelsea game, I still had Salah to play, Saka to play, who was a bit of a differential for me, and Raya. And I was about 6 points ahead of the 6 points ahead of the safety score. I was on a decent green.
yeah.
The 2 p.m.s, mate, the 2 p.m.s on Sunday absolutely kicked my ass. All of the high owned players that were threats to me delivered. Munoz, 11, Wood, 8, Bowen, 8, Eze, 16. Those 2 p.m. kickoffs were a killer for my game week rank.
Mm.
So I ended up dropping Red Arrow from 104 to 114. So yeah, not horrendous, but considering I had a chip active, I'd have liked to have seen it as a green.
I know that's pretty bad, actually. I think I know you're putting on a brave
Because of a
face,
chip.
but like you can predict that thing. But with a system manager being played as well,
Yeah, I'm not best
you're
pleased,
right
but
to feel
2 weeks
annoyed.
to go. 2 weeks to go. Honestly, those 2 p.m. kickoffs, mate,
No,
killer.
I felt it. I felt it as well. And it was annoying that there were some players that I was like, yeah, you know, so I was like,
Yeah. But we'll move on. Let's ignore
yeah,
game week 36. There's nothing we can do about it now. Let's talk about 2 week points. It's kind of like that part of the season, isn't it, Matt? Where if you're chasing, this is the week to bring in somebody that over the next 2 weeks your people that you're chasing don't have. So we thought we'll put together a list of the expected points according to Fix of players over the next 2 game weeks that are owned by less than 15% of the game. I'm surprised
Hmm.
Clivert's less than 15%.
Yeah. Well, I guess they didn't have a double, did they? Right. So I'm guessing that explains like Bournemouth players relatively low ownership. But yeah, I like this list. I mean, yeah, Cliver predicted and De Bruyne predicted points of near enough 10 the next two, both kind of like yeah, looking pretty tasty. I'm not really putting too much faith on any of the Arsenal midfielders, I'll be honest. Like outside of Saka, Trossard, Martinelli, Odegaard, I wouldn't really be going there. Bowen, yeah,
That was a nice one.
is well again like yeah, he's a player that I think we both
Flying.
owned throughout the season. Like maybe at the bad, but not the ideal points. But yeah, he's kind of like ticking around. Shade, I think the boat has sailed. Evan Nielsen, 8.5. I think, yeah, Evan Nielsen is that, and Kluivert, so the Bournemouth attackers are very appealing for that last game week, right? They're home against Leicester, right? So I think
Yeah.
that is like the right fixture, which is really, really cool. Yeah, so some good names there. I think, yeah, kind of like Kluivert, Evan Nielsen stand out for me. I think De Bruyne is a nice option. of course. Outside of these guys, then, like, this is the fix, less than 15% effective ownership, and then the ones with the most expected points. Higher owned players, who do you like? The final two,
The higher owned,
and ones you've got as well, like just
no, if I could afford him, I wouldn't mind Haaland,
yeah,
but I'm never going to get there. City have got some nice fixtures. Villa have got nice fixtures. I wouldn't mind having Ollie Watkins. He's
yeah,
again just slightly out, unless I sell Isaac, he's slightly out of my price range. But in the Villa team, it'd be Watkins that I'd get. Forest have also got some nice fixtures.
yeah.
So I could potentially get to Chris Wood if I sell Marmouche. So that could be a move I end up doing, depending on if I think Marmouche is going to get some game time or be benched again. And then Arsenal, purely for that last game, they've got Southampton. Could put some goals past Southampton. Saka, I think it'd be a nice own in that game week.
Yeah, I agree. I think Saka's the best single player for next 2 game weeks, right? So I think you're in a good position already owning him, which is really cool. I think top players like Saka, Salah, Haaland, and Bumo, I'd say, are the top ones. Then there's a gap. I think you mentioned one of the guys there that would be really interesting. Watkins is very interesting. I think obviously the Bournemouth players for that final week are very interesting. It's just like whether you want to go there now against City. I think it's okay. They're not the team of old, but they have been defensively relatively sound. So I'd say I'd probably put Evan Nielsen as my favourite one over Clivert and over Semenyo. But I think they're all the trio are kind of like really excellent. And then I think in a different way from Saka, I really like Palmer. I think we'll talk about captaincy options. I think he could be, and I know that game that Chelsea had, this week. I won't put too much emphasis on it because the red cards. Jackson being out harms the whole Chelsea team, right? However, they're playing Man United at home with a lot to play. They've got a lot to play for, right? I suspect Man United will be heavily rotated or fatigued, right? Versus kind of like Chelsea with no motivation, etc. Right? I think Palmer is a very good option for game week 37 against Man United at home, and I think he's not. They got I think Forest away. Again, they've got lots to play for there as well. Obviously,
it's a big game, isn't it? Forest to Chelsea is a big game.
Why the form of Palmer, why the form of Chelsea's up and down, right? So that's the downside. But I think if you're just looking at things from a pure analytical point of view, I think Palmer would be up there. So I think, those are some of the non-differential players that are appearing. So it's the Bournemouth attackers for me. Saka.
And then Watkins. So you mentioned Watkins. Would you as an Isaac owner? He's got Arsenal away, followed by Everton at home. Would you sell him for Watkins, who has Tottenham at home and United away?
Yeah, I would. Like if I had like a
luxury.
Yeah, I've had lots of free transfers. Yeah, that's a move. But I think like Isaac, I know he's not been scoring much like recently. Like he's a quality player for a quality team, really. So I think he's a good person where it's like you don't have to be desperate to move him. But if you had nothing better to do and had nice free transfers, I'd say the trade off is like Watkins is better than Isaac for the last two, which is it's a pretty interesting option. I don't know I'm going to be able to have that luxury. I've got other things that I think are more optimal to fix and bigger fires to kind of sort out than Isaac. But for other people who are in a better place to me, I think that's a nice move.
I'd like to do it. I don't think I can get
there. Who's must own for you?
Who's must own? Good question. And Bumo, I think is on my must own list.
Yeah.
I'm glad I've got Saka, so that tells me Saka's probably a must own. I also think Variol. I like the City fixtures and I like him as an option.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it's those guys, isn't it? Really, like Salah can just be a thing. Haaland, I don't think it's a must-own just because of how difficult he's get to. He'll be a nice option for people for the punting. But I think I think the Saka and Bumo they're kind of best, most balanced, given like both the fixtures coming up.
Yeah, and then oh man, I'm so that we spoke about Isaac to Watkins. I might eye that up. We'll come on to my team later. We'll see what we're going to do with it. But yeah, on this list, like if you were, you might not bring any in yourself, but if you were somebody that was, I need to catch somebody in this league, and I'm maybe 20 points behind. Give me your big three. Which are your three
Well, on
for
this
your
list,
effect, for your differentials? Doesn't have to be on this list in all fairness, but differential 15% less owned.
well, Haaland, Haaland's a differential and he at good levels, but like, yeah,
True.
I think
Yeah.
he's the number one. Then I say Watkins,
Yeah.
and I'd say probably De Bruyne on this. But again, those are all premium assets, right? So there's different shopping lists. If you're
Yeah.
looking for mid-priced options, I think it's Bournemouth attackers.
It's quite interesting. Is Isaac, not Isaac, Saka is only 17% owned.
Yeah, well, okay, but I was assuming he's like higher on. Like, I think
Ah,
if you're
yes,
giving, yeah.
he's over the 50. You couldn't have said him. He's over the 15%, so you couldn't have said him. But it's like I thought he'd be well
Hmm.
higher than that. But yeah, interesting. Um, but yeah, on to the next, which is all about game week 37 captain. Somebody didn't change the number 36 or on that slide. But these are the stats for game week 37, Matt. Salah expected to be the top point scorer. Have you seen the pictures of him in the Liverpool team in Dubai? I think the guy's going to be drunk by the time that Brighton game comes around. I know he doesn't
Uh,
drink, but he'll be at least jet lagged.
yeah, yeah. Someone's got to set him up. I think it's the wider thing with Salah and Liverpool just being bad for well, not bad, but have been average for months, really, right? I think there was a bit of a hangover where Salah was just bagging a penalty every game and then getting 10 points for it in like February, March time. I really don't think he's the best captaincy option. So, like, yeah, as much as we love them, I'm sorry. Yeah, these are expected points according to Fix. 7 expected points away to Brighton. I'm not buying that. Like, I think I'm not really considering him at all for captaincy, right? The other options here are, I think, are more appealing, right? So Palmer at 6.7 expected points against Man United. Haaland, yeah, he'd be in consideration. Watkins, yes. Mbumo, 5.4, 5.5. Yeah, I mean, those are the options. I'd favour them all over Salah, right? I think looking at these stats, I think both Palmer and Mbumo has been a bit of a disservice. I think I'd have them slightly higher in terms of like expected points if I was just playing it in my own minds. Yeah, I've hinted at it before, but I think as bad as he's been recently, right? I think he is the best
And
option.
Palmer. What
Yeah.
about Palmer? Yeah. I don't know. I don't hate it. He's obviously at home to Man United. Man United are going to have their head in Bilbao.
Well, they're also just a
Probably play
bad
a
team, aren't they?
rotated
They're
team.
they're a really poor team as well, right?
16th in the league with 2 games to go. Man United, unbelievable.
Mhm. Yeah. So, where's your head at? I was rambling there a little bit. Like, anything you disagree with,
I
and
mean,
like, who do you think is the
no,
best
I
option?
don't disagree. I personally, just because of form, I'd go Mbumo over Palmer, even if I own Palmer. Just feel like
Mbumo's just been grinding things out though, rather than like having these like.
I'd spot. Palmer's not even been doing that. His only points returned in the last 6 weeks is a penalty. Whereas at least Mbumo's getting returns, even if he's grinding them. I'd prefer to go Mbumo for that reason.
Yeah,
Um,
I
if I
thought
had Watkins,
you
I'd
were
probably
about a
captain
few
him.
weeks ago, mate. You were about teams that had a lot to play for.
Chelsea have still got something to play for. Yeah, granted. Brentford have got an outside chance of Europe, have they not?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very outside. Very outside.
Although it doesn't
If
matter as
out,
much, you
but
know what I mean? That's for like the Mickey
yeah,
Mouse like stuff. But yeah,
not
you
for
are right.
Brentford. For Brentford to qualify for Europe at all, would be great for Brentford.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Uh, but if I had out of all of the players on that list, if I had him, I'd captain Watkins. They're still playing for Champions League if they can get themselves into the top five. So big thing on their agenda. Tottenham's head will also be in Bilbao, and they've lost 20 games this season or something crazy. I think Villa will have a little bit of a field day at that game. It's their last game at home. Chance to get the crowd behind them for their last home game, and yeah, I can see Villa scoring 3 or 4 goals there. I reckon Watkins will be heavily involved. So if I had him, I'd be captaining Watkins. But as I don't, I'm going for Mbumo, mate.
Yeah, no, I get, I can see the value of Watkins for sure, and the logic there. I was looking at just like what's doing. I was just going on the official FPL site, just looking at Mbumo and Palmer's like underlying form, like the last.
Oh, you gotta tell me Palmer's is better, aren't you?
They're very similar. They're very similar.
Oh, really?
They're very
Oh,
similar. Yeah. So I think obviously Mbumo's been performing better, but like there's not a huge gap, right? You do have to stretch it. You do have to stretch it back a little bit, like to kind of see some of like Palmer's better games. But like, it's not too dissimilar, not too much of a gap, right?
yeah.
Newcastle was a strange game, but you still got to expect their goal involvement of like 0.3. That's all right. Liverpool 1.7. Penalty was included
To
there,
the
but
pen. Yeah.
Everton did nothing. Fulham did nothing. I think those are the two games like where it's like, hey, that's a bit concerning, right? 0.1, 0.1. Ipswich 0.45, Brentford 0.25, Spurs 0.42, Leicester 1.2, Southampton 1.4. It's all right, that, right? I think it's not. When he's only had one penalty in that period, I think it's not too dissimilar from Boomer. But I can't believe having the guy. Did you own him for like game week 27 and 28? Southampton and Leicester back to back. 4 points. The guy got
Who's that?
Palmer.
Palmer. Did
Can you
he?
remember that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Genuine.
you
I
captain Salah, I
probably
think,
did
didn't you?
have him.
That Southampton game, I remember like I think I captained him, but you and I was like, I
When
think you captained
Salah.
Salah, yeah. Anyway,
Killer.
he's
Yeah.
not been great, but I like Palmer a lot for this upcoming week. Jackson being out is I think be a little
Concerns.
bit. I'd be a little bit more confident if Jackson was playing, because then they could play some wacky formation when it's like Enzo Fernandez or Neto playing as a false nine, and Palmer's just like wide. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
If you're a Maverick and you're chasing in a league, would you have any thoughts on captaining or buying, because I doubt you'll own him, Beto? Everton's
No,
last ever game at Goodison Park, a home to Southampton.
no. Defender
No.
would be good. Like this is something where like Tarkowski or something like that will score a header, right? So I think or Pickford going out for a corner and scoring. I don't know. I'd have a defender.
Imagine.
I won't go better. Nah. But like, I think on this
Not
list, I
that
think
crazy.
nah. I think on this list though, yeah, I like Palmer. We both like Watkins. We both like Mbumo. I think like the sensible option, in my opinion, anyway, is Mbumo over Salah for like
Yeah.
higher.
I know we spoke about it. I'm tempted to sell Isaac, but we will look at talking about what I'm tempted to do. Let's talk about what you're tempted to do first, Matt. Game week 37 didn't change that slide either. I'm nothing if not unprofessional. But here is your game week 37 team. What are your thoughts?
At least you're pulling it, doing the hard yards, whereas I just kind of like turn up me. So again, big shout out to
You're the
Dave.
talent. You're
He's
the talent, pal.
mate, you're kind of putting the grind in, so much appreciated. Yeah, 2 transfers for me, which this could be a blessing, right? Like I said, I would have probably had Evan Nilsson or kind of visit in for Marmoush if I got that leak news around the deadline last time. Team at the moment looks okay. There's not too many decisions really. So yeah, I start Rayo, I think, over Areola. So Newcastle home, Munoz, Wolves home, Vardy, Bournemouth home, Concert, Spurs home. Midfield of Rogers against Spurs, Salah away to Brighton, Salah home to Wolves, and Bumo captain at the moment, home to Fulham. Then Marmoush, Isaac, Mateta front line. Obviously, don't love that front line with like 2 rotation risks there, or minutes risks with Mateta and Marmoush. Yeah, I've got 2 retransfers. Looking at my squad, yeah, Marmoush, Mateta, Savinho are problems, right? Well, I think I can kind of move. So really, I think I'll use both 2 free transfers. I'm pretty confident of that because that means I can get a good midfield option for Savinho. So yeah, I think I'll either move Savinho to one of Palmer or Saka. If I was to bring Palmer in, I would captain him and then move him instantly to Saka next week, right? I could bring in Saka this week as well, like Newcastle home. That would mean if I bring in Saka, it means I don't have to waste another transfer next week, and I could bring in an additional Bournemouth midfielder, right? For Sarr, for example, right, for targeting that Leicester game, right? So that's the thing I've got to play in around that net benefit that can bring, right? But yeah, Savinho will go to Palmer or Saka based on my current thinking, and then either Mateta or Marmoush. I'll just see how I'm feeling around their kind of relative minutes and whatnot. No, I wouldn't mind having Marmoush, right, if I know he's going to start, but I'm not really
Absolutely.
confident in that. Mateta, I'm not really loving him, but whatever. But like, yeah, I kind of consider, Mateta and Marmoush who they can go to, whether it's Evan Nilsson or Visser. I think I personally prefer Evan Nilsson, right, just because yes, they're playing City, but as they proved against Arsenal, they can score against good teams, and actually is doing very well against good teams. That is a kind of trend, and Evan Nilsson himself seems to be the one who gets returns, right? So I'm a big fan, both big fans. I think he's a good option, and then that means that I've got at least one Bournemouth attacker and the best Bournemouth attacker in my opinion for that prime game week 38 fixture, right? So I think I'm set on those moves. So yeah, decision points are like, Savinho will go out, Mateta or Marmoush will go out, and then it will be either Palmer or Saka, and then probably Evan Nilsson as a striker. So yeah, mate, thoughts. And like if I was to make those moves, I do a 5-man midfield, right? And I'd bench
the other
Mateta,
one, Marmoush or Mateta.
Yeah, or Evan Nilsson. I'll kind of form a form of view. It might be Evan Nilsson bench strike, given it is City away.
But just have him prepped and primed for game week 38 already.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, like one of the reasons getting like a Visser and a Evan Nilsson is it just gives me more budget to actually afford those exciting midfield options. Yeah, mate, thoughts? What do you reckon?
Makes sense, doesn't it? It does make sense. I mean, I've gone off Palmer. I think I prefer to have Saka in the team, even if the fixture this week isn't as nice. The fact that you're going to sell Palmer straight to Saka feels like it's kind of you're forcing in a transfer for one game week, which you've always told me never do.
Yeah, it's a bit different though. Game week 38, I think.
Yeah, just as a get him in for 1 week. So even if he does score, so you get him in as your captain.
I could have still had the guy as well. That's annoying. I still got Savinho stinking out my team. But yeah,
he's your frustration. He'll be gone this week, though. From the looks of it, he'll be gone this week. If so you won't have to look at him anymore.
Sorry, yeah. What a cock up for the season that was. But I guess the way to think about it is if I have Saka this week, it means I can move Sarr to Kluivert final week of the season, right? So I can have 2 Bournemouth players for that prime fixture. If I go Palmer this week, I think I have an exciting captain option, right?
Yeah, and a differential, I'd imagine, compared to most around you.
But I have to play Sarr final week of the season over Kluivert.
When who have Palace got game week 38? Do you know?
Liverpool away.
Last home game. Last home game of the season at Anfield, just before they left the trophy.
Sarr is a good player, though, right?
I can't believe I didn't know that, by the way. I can't believe I've just asked you who Palace are playing in game week 38 as a Liverpool fan. That's quite embarrassing. But yeah, I'd see that as a 4-0 Liverpool win before they lift the trophy, right? They're gonna come to that game to party. So for that reason, I prefer Saka in over Palmer. I think you'll end up with more points based on the fact.
What about the captaincy thing? Because obviously, like, if I'm bringing in Palmer this week, it's actually 2 lots.
So how many points do you reckon Palmer's going to get against United?
Well, I'm opening like 4 goals. 20 points.
How many realistically?
If I'm thinking like expected points, where I put him at is, I'd say 7.5, right? I'd say
7.5.
I say Mbumo is 6. If just in my head,
so 1.5. 1.5 difference based on captaincy, right? It's going to cost you 4 points to sell Palmer. Force in Saka, right? So I just don't see. I just don't see it where making making sense personally. If you can get Saka in now and then allow yourself to get Clivert.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think I've targeted the right place to bring in. Obviously, as a decision, is it Palmer or kind of Saka? Is it Evan Nielsen or Visson? I think targeting the right ones to get out. So yeah, I've got a few decisions to make.
Yeah.
Currently,
I don't hate Palmer, by the way. I don't hate that move. I don't hate it. I don't. What I hate is bringing in a player for 1 week. That's what I hate. Unless it's, game week 38, as you say.
it's very different like now though, right? So I think Saka is, I think as well, like having the best captain on paper each week is a good option. Saka is the best week captain for sure. Final week, right? So I'm not blocking myself from that move. Yeah, mate. Good words. Let's have a look at your team.
Oh yeah, get ready to
Let's talk
slag off
about
what I'm thinking of doing.
burning transfers. Is that like
Well,
what's
I
the move?
probably will. I'm in that position where I can. I've only got one free transfer because obviously I made 2 moves last
Yeah,
week. 0.4 million pound in the bank. The starting 11, I don't hate it.
no, that's
So
good.
Henderson at home to Wolves, Concert, Gvardiol, and Williams. The only one I don't really like in that team is Williams, but he feels a better pick than Kiwi or Burn. So I'll probably just play
Yeah,
Williams. Hope
agree.
he gets maybe an attacking return. Midfield, similar to yours, Salah and Boomer with the captaincy armbands. My main difference is I've got Saka, who I'll keep ahead of the next game week, and then up front, Marmoush and Isaac like you, but then I have Wissa instead of Mateta. Quite happy with that 11. I could do Isaac out and Watkins in, and then end up captain Watkins, but it feels like a forced move. I don't feel like that's necessary. Might not be a bad move. What I do really like the idea of me is that as you know, my assistant manager is active. I could use my transfer there. And I wasn't going to do this until I saw the news this week, right? Pep Guardiola out. And you might think you're a crazy man, Dave. He's at home to Bournemouth. Why are you taking out Guardiola? I think I might bring in Herzler. I might just take the absolute gamble. Bonus points for Brighton at home to Liverpool. Let me tell you why. Let me paint the picture for you, Matt, and then you can have your say, right? Number one, Liverpool are literally on the beach. Literally. Slot is in Ibiza pieing up with Gary Lineker's brother in whatever club that's called. And all the Liverpool players are in Dubai. They're not even in the country training. Brighton at home against the other top six, so the 5 games they've played this season against the other top six. Won 3, drew 2, lost none. I can see Herzler and Brighton getting a result there, and I can see them beating Liverpool. That's 16 sweet points coming in my direction.
Yeah,
That's
I
me
mean,
done.
no, I think it's bold.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be optimal, but like certainly the upside is there. This does prevent you, for example, getting Watkins in,
It does.
which could be kind of nice. I see on your team generally, mate. I'd be starting Rogers over Marmoush in my
Even if
personal opinion.
I suppose the problem is City aren't playing until midweek because of the FA Cup, so we won't
No.
even hear the news if he's starting or not.
I would just go for minute certainty of kind of
Yeah,
Rogers against like a weak team in defensively in Spurs. The
yeah,
system
get
manager is
that.
kind of interesting because we were looking at this, weren't we? I think there is an interesting option game week 38 for a table bonus, which I think is Ange. So
Big, that's big
Spurs will
and
be playing Brighton at home. That will be table bonus, right? I don't
yeah,
Brighton at all that, and I think if Spurs are okay, right? They can win games, right? Their goal difference proves that they're more the upper mid table team rather than like relegation kind of threatened team. If they win, if they win Europa League, right, and that's the big if. I would put them to be winning that game. So I think he's an interesting option as well for that chasing, but game week 38. Personally, I'd probably keep it on Pep. I think,
yeah. Play for the 6 points.
yeah, that's the boring thing, isn't it? Yeah, if you want to have some fun, getting Watkins in is probably some fun, right?
It is, but then in game week 38, I'm looking at Isaac at home to Everton and thinking Newcastle could sign off in style as well there. You know what I mean? Once I
Yeah.
take Isaac out, I'm not enjoying it in game week
No,
38. Was it last season him and then Mateta got a hat trick on the last day or 2 goals and 2 assists or something crazy?
yeah. I think actually worryingly, Eze was the person who scored big from last season. I think he got 18 points. Yeah,
coming back to her.
Pretty ominous.
You know what I mean? I just is Watkins will be better than Isaac this week, no question. I think next week when it's United at home to Villa, I still think Watkins could do something there, but I just feel like Newcastle are the sort of team that'll sign off in style against Everton, especially if they still need a result to get Champions League football.
I agree. If you were to roll, if you were to keep Guardiola and not bring in Watkins, what would you do game week 38 with your 2-3 transfers? I'm guessing it's 2 Bournemouth players, right? I'm guessing it's
Now we're talking. Yeah, Marmoush out.
Cliver, is it?
Evan Nielsen in, absolutely. And then, depending on how the defence looks, I could get rid of one of them for Kerkez. I'd have to see what those fixtures look like. Because I quite like the midfield. Maybe Sarr out for a Clivert.
Well, you'd be playing. You'd be playing Rodgers though, wouldn't you? So Sarr would be benched anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'd probably go with the defence route and get rid of one of the defenders for Kerkez.
Well, it's Evan Nielsen in for Marmoush and then like Ange in for Guardiola. Yeah, I think probably rolling is the best. It might be the best bet. I'm not sure. Your team looks very good.
Question for you. There's my question. What score do you think Brighton versus Liverpool is going to be this weekend?
2-1 Liverpool.
If United win the Europa League, what score do you reckon it's going to be? Tottenham versus Brighton.
2-2.
And if Tottenham win it, they'll win. You've got more faith in my team than I've got. I think Brighton will beat us this weekend purely because we don't care.
5 minutes ago, mate, you were saying Sarr against Liverpool last game week of the season is awful because Liverpool care so much.
Well, that's the game we'll care because we're lifting the trophy. That's the game we'll care about.
Oh, mate.
Yeah. We'll see what I do. I could roll and do nothing. I could take the gamble and bring in Hasler and just play for the 16 points.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of those. Yeah, it's kind of your team looks good and like a lot better than mine. I'll kind of add to it. It's like rolling will be good. Playing with the assistant manager, if that is your preference, I think that's kind of like bold but like cool. I kind of like admire that. Yeah, I think those are the options.
Fun in it. Bit of fun for the last game.
Oh, exactly.
Second to last game week. But yeah, we'll see, mate. We'll see now. And this is the part that I've been dreading. Really didn't want to talk about Matt versus Dave for one reason and one reason only. Game week 36.
Who are West Ham playing, though, by the way, mate? Because they got table bonus
this week. Where they have, they are playing Forest.
See, I'd say that's a better one to target. West Ham at home again, last game of the season, all that kind of good stuff. Forest are not a top team. Like they were so lucky at the beginning of the season, right? That's why. Well, for me anyway, I had a crap start because like I felt like I just kept getting lucky and I didn't pick their place. But like now they're just plummeting, right? West Ham and Forest are very equal teams. Bowen's on fire, isn't he?
Bowen is on fire, unfortunately.
West Ham's form, what's it like? I think it's pretty good, no?
Rubbish. No, it's terrible. I looked at it. They've won 1 in the last 6 or something stupid. It feels more because Bowen seems to score every week, but they also concede a lot of goals.
They're drawing a lot. So the teams they've lost to, right, recently are beaten Arsenal, beaten Leicester, they've lost to Newcastle because a draw is good for like table winners, right?
Yeah.
Drew with Everton, lost to Wolves, but that's away, right? They've drawn with Bournemouth, narrowly lost to Liverpool. They've drawn with Southampton. They've lost away to Liverpool. They've drawn with Spurs. They've beaten Manchester United, right? So there's a lot of draws there, but I think the losses are generally against good teams, right? And away. Home their form's not bad. I reckon if you're going for like considering, it would be worth considering West Ham and Potter as an option.
Go for Potter. Big
it's
Potter.
I think I know if you want to do table bonus this week, I think it's West Ham.
Who have they got in 38?
Who West Ham got? Let me
Yeah.
see.
They've got somebody half decent in 38. It could be a hold.
Ipswich.
Ipswich would be a hold. Would be a hold. Mate, I'll probably bottle it and keep Guardiola anyway. But yeah, it's nice to talk these things up.
I mean, I think Hursler actually looking at it now. Hursler and Potter are the best two assistant managers, I think, by some margin over Guardiola.
You changed that very quickly.
No, I'm just like looking at the fixtures and stuff like that, and then just like we spoke about how difficult it is for like a good team to get top points, whereas like a draw is like gets you this magical
points.
fourth, doesn't it?
Minimum
Yeah,
of 9 because yeah.
If I was making my head in terms of where the points difference would be, I'd be like Brighton and West Ham. I'd be saying 8 points per game on average. The next two, I'd say with Guardiola, it's going to be closer to like 6, 7 a game. So there's a gap. There's a gap there, and then there's actually a huge opportunity, but it's like all or nothing. So the more you say it, I kind of like. Yeah,
You
I
like
like
it.
it.
You
Yeah, I
like the
like it.
move.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. And yeah, I just need Liverpool players to still be hungover if Hursley's the one to go for, and then jobs are good.
Yeah.
And then need Tottenham to lose the final and then Brighton to go and beat them on the last game of the season. It's who we
There's
are,
some,
mate.
yeah,
It's
there's
who
some
we
good
are,
ones.
mate.
There's, like Wolves are at home for Brentford as well. Last game of the season, that would be
Oh,
table
nice.
bonus. Like Wolves are as good since the new manager as Brentford. Right?
Nice.
You got
Oh, this
the
is where the
Spurs.
fun comes, man.
You got the Spurs Brighton game. Yeah, West Ham Ipswich is a fun game, of course. With Brighton playing. If Brighton played Spurs, I don't think you'd want to be doing that. You'd want to be shifting to a table bonus. So I reckon I like
Some
this is
fun
more
here. There's some
this is
fun
more
to
fun.
be had, right?
Yeah.
There's some fun to be had. Forget me 11. I've got a team there. They'll do. Let's
That was the
change the
most
manager.
fun I've had this season, obviously, because like I smashed out the assistant manager chip. But it's just so fun when you've got those table bonus things because anything is almost like a 10-point swing, right? Tarkowski for Everton, from Moyes when he got the last minute equaliser, that was like a 10-point goal. It was incredible.
Yeah, this is it. This is what I'm playing. I feel like it's a bit of fun to be had.
No, I
So
think both of
yeah,
us are
you're
lighting up.
talking me into it.
I like,
Talking me
yeah.
into it.
No, mate, well done for sharing it, mate. I wouldn't have considered that at all now, but like thinking about it, this is the way to play these managers, though, isn't it? It's like playing it on non-table bonus managers. It's incredibly hard unless there's like super simple games. Man City don't have
You'd
super
think that, wouldn't you,
simple
mate?
games.
You think that because they played Southampton last week. Super simple game, 5 points.
That's just that proves it. Then it's like it's very very hard. Like I think that table bonus for draws is, and the table's very artificial at the moment. Like it's like basically it's not like reflective of form and quality of teams at this moment. I think there's some nice opportunities. So yeah, Brighton, I don't hate it. Again, West Ham, I don't hate it this week as well. And then next week there could be some fun with Wolves, with Spurs, a few other options. So yeah, actually I'm all in. Embrace that manager hopping.
I like it. That was good. I appreciate
He's
that. And
actually
thanks for
going to get
delaying.
captain, isn't he? Not
I
he's
won't blame you if it happens.
Watkins is coming.
Probably. I'll probably do both. Make the hit. I'm glad you delayed this. I showed the screen. You won again. Shard again, smashing it with 11 points. Nobody else delivered for either of us. Strand Larson didn't get the start, despite the fact the Wolves manager decided to tell me he was fit ahead of time, which is why I picked him. But he didn't get the start. Only 1 point for him. Evan Nielsen just with the 2. Nico Williams for you with 1. But Shard in with 11 takes you to a 12-3 victory and makes it 16-13. Matt, it's all over me. I can't catch you. The most I can get to is 15. So, firstly, congratulations. You are the winner of this season's Matt versus Dave. So, well done to you.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, trophies in the post.
Oh, I love it, mate. 2 years in a row now, isn't it?
2 in a row. 2 in a row. You get this duck. That's the trophy.
Yeah.
You get this for next season. I'll send it on down. But what it does mean is we don't have to pick a game week 37 because it's all over.
Ooh, who would you pick?
I didn't even look. I thought I thought it's game.
Yeah.
You know what? Based on his form and the fact that he's got Fulham at home, Shard, he'd have been on the list 100%.
I'd be going
I
like
think,
a Beto or something like that. There'd be some Everton boys, Decore,
yeah,
Beto,
down to Southampton,
Tarkovsky for me, and then
Decore.
Kudos would be an option. West Ham home
Yeah,
to
Wolves have got a
Forest.
decent fixture. I know it's Palace, maybe not so much, but yeah, I think Shade would be one. Vardy, last home game, not even last home game, by the way, last game for Leicester. It's already been announced that this will be his last game, despite the fact they've still got one in game week 38. They've already said
Yeah,
it's his
I
last
think
one.
Vardy would be the best one. Yeah.
So I think Vardy could be a good pick for that one.
All over that.
I need to do it. You just reminded me. I need to text my mate to tell him Vardy won't play game week 38 because he's going to bring him in. I'll tell him not to. This is the sort of value we bring. Don't bring in Vardy. He's not playing game week 38.
Very interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. That's too honest of you. I'd be some of our mini league
Tell him.
rivals. They were like, I wouldn't be sharing that insight with them.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I might double check how far ahead of me he is or behind me, and I make the decision from there. Where are we? Just live scores. He is. Yeah, I won't load. He's somewhere. There he is. Mate, he's 32 points behind me. I'll let him do it. I'll let him bring Vardy in. But yeah, we don't need to pick. We don't need to pick game week 37. So on this point though, mini league updates. What it does mean is the person that finishes top of this mini league, and it's not going to be me, unfortunately, has got to give me some form of forfeit for the season. Next season, FPL forfeits, maybe say. I'm not going to like go on a date with a cutout of Taylor Swift or anything like I've seen other people do in the past. So an FPL forfeit, so something like you get to pick my captain for a certain game week, something along those sort of lines. But at the minute, the person that gets to be doing that is Jonas, who is back on top, has been top before, got 77 points this week thanks to a double City defence, which I sold one of. He also had Bowen and he also had Eze with 16 points. So 77 points in total takes him to 2523 overall for an overall world rank of 2062nd. Very good season for Jonas. Well done to you, mate. Keep it up and you will pick my forfeit. In this league, mate, I am 29th and you are 27th. So very close to each other. Unfortunately, that Dave Saunders intent is not me, it is FPL Dave. Hello, FPL Dave.
I remember both of you were having that battle. You were both eighth and seventh for a while, and then obviously fair play to the consistency of some of these managers, right? There's some names that have been here throughout the year. That's what it's all about. Obviously, it was actually we'll do our debrief when we. I think we definitely did that debrief kind of thing in terms of how our season's gone, what we had done differently. It was looking so good, wasn't it?
It was. I was 50,000 at one point, as was Dave on the screen at the minute, and then I made some stupid moves. But we will move on. But well done, Jonas, and that brings us to the end of the game week. We'll see what we do. The deadline for everybody that's listening, we are recording this on Thursday. The deadline is Friday. Do not miss it. There are 2 games happening on Friday evening, so make sure you get your team submitted by Friday at 6 p.m. Don't miss it, Matt. Don't miss it like we did last week.
What time was it again?
Yeah, only 6 p.m. on Friday. 6 p.m. on Friday. 6 p.m.
I'm certainly not going to be on a roof doing like gardening, so that's a lock. I'll get that. I'm going to do my. There's no teams to wait for leaks, really, is there? So I'm going to make them.
There isn't, and there's something I've just seen. That first game at 7:30 is Villa versus Spurs. That tells me not to bring Watkins in because you never captain somebody in the first game. That's my rule because it just ruins your game week if they blank. I know you don't agree with that one.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. It can ruin your whole weekend to an extent.
The weekend done. And this weekend, I'm down in Liverpool to see my mate for his birthday and my auntie for her 70th. So I don't want to show up with a miserable face.
Anyway, well, good luck with that. And like,
I'm just chatting.
That sounded very sinister. Good luck with that. When a Brighton play, yeah, where's the Brighton Liverpool game? That'll be
Monday.
determining whether you're a happy guy or not.
That's on Monday, so the whole
Good.
weekend I'll be fine. Yeah. No worries about
You'll
that.
just
It's
be
on
excited.
Monday.
You'll be thinking like hers. You'll be thinking this table bonus things. So I think you've got to go.
I will
for it.
be, but against my team, right? And that this shows there's no favoritism in FPL. You play with your head, don't play with your heart.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
So, but mate, one game week left after this one, so we'll record. We'll speak to each other next week ahead of game week 38, I imagine, and then as you say, the week after, just a little debrief about how we finished the season, and then some time to reflect on how we can learn from what we did this season and be better next season. So we'll look forward to that. But yeah, we'll catch up after game week 37, ahead of game week 38 next week, and yeah, whatever you do with the team, best of luck this week, mate.
Yeah, likewise. Enjoyed it, mate. Thanks for the slides again, and yeah, best of luck to yourself.
Thank you kindly. And to you, if you are with me playing the assistant manager chip on Herslet, best of luck to you. But whatever you decide to do, may your average be. And we will catch up with you again next week. Until then,